There, Bradford here, and I think we're actually streaming now. Let me click the little button to see if I can follow. Okay, so looks like we got a few people here. I'm just going to go ahead, and I don't know how this works exactly, but I assume if you come on this later, you can hit the little play thing and see it later. Anyway, the couple of reasons I wanted to do this thing. Hello, Jared. Thank you, sir. I wanted to get the word out on the last known position of Jacie Sails. That's the one thing. Also to get some more ears on the upcoming podcast, which should also help get some more earballs on Jacie's last known position. I do have some good news to report. Oh, didn't know how that happened. Yeah, that was automatic. But anyway, a couple of pieces of good news. The favorite shirt that I've had for 30 years that I thought was on the boat was not lost on the boat. And that is the one I got about 30 years ago in Kansas City at a bar named the Hurricane. Oh, can't do that. Okay. And secondly, I have a cold beverage. So anyway, but on the bad news, we have not found the boat. That's the topographical map. And yeah, that's the one here. And so she was last seen when I left her about 60 nautical miles west-southwest of Cape Sable at the tip of the Everglades and about 35 miles north of Key West, north-northwest. I've got the exact location there. Ahoy, hoy, Captain Boomies. Thank you. So that was the last position, and due to the fact that the wind was going, pushing it toward the north last I left, and then later on during the height of the blow towards the east, my thinking is one of three scenarios. The first one being the least likely, and that is that she sunk, which I kind of doubt, at least in the 70 feet of water she was in there. The other two scenarios, I think, are that either A, she broke the anchor rode, and in that case, I have a feeling she may be on her side on a reef or in the shallows where you can see the lighter colors around the edge of the Everglades and in between the Keys and the tip of Florida. And that's one scenario. The other one is I'm hoping for, which would be that somehow the anchor rode did not break and that she drifted into one of those lighter areas like up in the Everglades, Thousand Islands, where you can see between Naples and the tip of the mainland of Florida and is somewhere there. So if you know anybody that's in the vicinity and you can keep an eye out, I can't point from here, but anyway, you get it from from Naples where Florida indents in down towards Cape Sable at the very end of the tip of mainland Florida. I think that's a prime location. Yeah, otherwise even later it could have drifted into Florida Bay between the mainland and the Keys. And I'm just hoping to get some word. I'd like to prevent things from being strewn about into the water for one thing, but fortunately there was no fuel left, as I will get into in the podcast, so I don't have to worry about a fuel spill. But there's a lot of books and jugs of stuff and a lot of plastic that I'd rather not be strewn about, and I'd like to have the boat back. So there's that. Yeah, I need to thank some folks here for picking me up, and that is these kind folks from the USCG, the Coasties in Station Key West, which I just learned is different than Sector Key West. But these first... Ethan Cast was the officer on duty on land. Billy Stone, Anthony Diggle, Gianna Briccone, and Riley McCarthy came out in the 45-foot vessel you see there and got me off of mine. And Anthony Diggle was the one who jumped over on Jacie Sails and helped do what we could to anchor her in 70 feet of water. So we had 90 feet of chain on a whopping 35-pound Delta anchor, and then maybe another 100 feet of rope rode. which we did the best we could with. So either I think that broke, or possibly it drug anchor, and maybe we'll come to rest somewhere in the shallower areas there towards the Everglades or Florida Bay. So we'll go with that. Also, I don't know if Dave's here, but I need to stop that thing. We don't need that. Don't bother subscribing. we got enough subscribers. Don't even think about it. But I do need to thank our esteemed patrons, including I see Captain Boomies and I see Captain Doug. Thank you. And our newest, Dave Canyon. Promised I'd get you in there, but thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions about the current status or location? Does anybody know any pilots or mariners in the area? Let me know. Otherwise, I don't know if I have a lot more information other than you might have heard the podcast teaser while you were waiting. I'm not going to play it again, and I don't know how to even access it here, but I will be working on that next. And there's some great stuff on there. That's kind of the silver lining of this poop sandwich. And I got interviews thanks to the public relations officer there at the Coast Guard with Anthony Diggle and Evan Cast. Very cool. Oh, thank you, Captain. So I think I was on hour 40. I made a stop in Venice where, where's my map? Yeah, I made a stop in Venice where you can see me coming in towards land there on the little track to try and get some fuel, and did not realize that, A, there was no fuel that could be pumped at the Crow's Nest Marina, which I did not know that Helene had clobbered them that far south, and there was very little fuel to be had in the city of Venice because everybody was panicking and trying to buy up all the fuel. So I ended up doing a couple-hour scavenger hunt with a stocky Haitian cab driver, and we eventually had to go by his house to get a very suspect-looking 15-gallon container that had previously had oil in it, and take that to somewhere we finally found diesel and wrestle that onto the boat. But it turned out there wasn't enough fuel to get to Key West, and by the time I got to where the little circle is there also wasn't even any wind, even though there was a whole poop ton of it that morning and coming down by Sarasota, which had almost nothing to do with Milton, but kind of sucked. And right where that little kink is before the red circle is probably about where I was feeding the fish. And then right when we got down to the end, the engine died, and we had no wind, but it was still nice and rolly. And I was kind of dehydrated. And I guess to answer your question, it would have been like it'd be another 10 hours under motor for me to get to Key West, where I had a slip booked in the safety of Galleon Marina. And under the circumstances with no fuel and waiting for a wind, I'm guessing maybe some 20 hours later I could have limped in, at which point we would have had a tropical storm on us, and I had the staysail and main already starting to rip. So good times. Let's see. Hey, Carnus, what is happening? Chances of recovery. I think there's a very good chance that someone will find her somewhere in some condition. If I had to guess, it would be somewhere around the light-colored turquoise to the east of that last point there. But in what condition and whether she miraculously comes to anchor, which is maybe less likely, or whether she goes aground on the shore or on a reef or something and starts getting broken apart, that's the other thing. And Captain Boomies, the Coasties, they did not make the call for me as such. I called Sector Key West to try and get Towboat US, and when I did that, they actually tried to get Towboat US for me, who had already pulled all their boats, and the dispatcher, for want of a better word, said, we're about to shut down operations, whether we come out to get you first or shortly after not coming out to get you. What's your call there, Captain? And I took a few minutes and told him I'd take a few minutes, and I said, I think I'll go with you guys. But the kicker about making the call, though, is when I interviewed BM2 Anthony Diggle later on, who was the guy that jumped aboard. I did find out they had a sufficient enough loadout of armament such that once they did come 40 miles north of Key West, I would be going with them. So, yeah, it was my call initially, but once they come out there right prior to a tropical storm, then, yeah, I would be going with them one way or the other. So, yeah, I'm going to... Thanks, Captain Boomies. Yeah, I think it was probably a good call, and I'm not 100% that I wouldn't have made a similar choice. I won't get into all that today, but Helene totaled our marina pretty much. It won't be operational with electricity or a store or other stuff for a couple to several months. And then I don't have the hurricane track right here, but the Sunday prior to the storm, I looked at it and it went right the F over our marina. I know it's the center and it can go anywhere, and it did go south of there 20 miles, but I thought the good play was to try and do something proactive and move the boat. It just didn't quite work out like I wanted. So, yeah, good times. But anyway, I appreciate everybody being here virtually, and I will stop abusing your ears, but I really appreciate it. If you know anybody that, can keep a lookout at this area, I'm going to go ahead and put this map, and I already have the coordinates right up on Jacie Sails here shortly. But with that, I will wish y'all a good evening. Now we know exactly what could possibly go wrong. Thanks again, Captain Boomies, for under trying circumstances being there for the meetup in Annapolis. Hope I can make it in person soon. And Doug, you and Boomies and several others, I'm about to pick up the shirts. I'll get those to you shortly. Yeah, and until then, keep a stiff upper thing, and I'll... hey, Tad. Thank you, Captain. Everybody be safe, and I will catch you soon.